Hey guys, I'm excited today to have my friend and former coach Preston Bryant on the podcast. Um, he's really great guy. Um, really connect with him and who he is and his message. And yeah, he helped me a lot when I was coaching with him to speak up more with my voice, dive into my creativity, open my heart. It was really great, really special. And I mean, just like us all, been through a lot and learned a lot. And so today he's going to speak on what he's been going through. And so thanks for coming on, Brian Preston.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Kendall. It's a pleasure to be here. I feel honored and can't wait to dive in today. Really
Awesome.
excited.
Yeah, so I think it would be good to start a little bit with just kind of a little bit of your upbringing, who you are, and kind of maybe like your beliefs that you were raised in.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm originally from Harare, Zimbabwe. Was born and raised in Zimbabwe. That's where I am currently right now, although I do go back to America on Monday. I have a mother who is fully Zimbabwean, and then my dad is an American citizen. So very fortunate to have been raised in Africa, but also have a life in America as well. And I was brought up, actually, my belief system that I was brought up in was a Mormon. So I grew up in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I was in that church for 18 years. So it was an interesting upbringing, to say the least. Yeah, not a fan of the church or the beliefs. However, one of the deceptive things about the Mormon church is that the values it promotes are good. The people are really good, but the metaphysical beliefs and I would say many different component parts of it are honestly a little bit delusional.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been raised in a very this unique and special upbringing, you know, in Zimbabwe and then raised Mormon. I'm curious, is Zimbabwe have like a dominant religion or is it like very variety?
That's a good question. It's primarily Christian, I would say. Many people here are very close to Christianity. However, there is also this undercurrent of like ancestral archetypal wisdom as well. So a lot of the local people here, they love Christ and they're huge fans of Jesus. But a lot of them are also very connected to their ancestors. Deeply embedded in the Shona culture as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
And at some point you went more, I don't know what you want to call it, spiritual or, you know, I don't know if people like the word new age anymore, but, and I know that you're into Buddhism. What was the shift there?
Yeah. So when I left the Mormon church, I was, 19 and I was playing rugby in South Africa at the time and read a book by Richard Dawkins called The God Delusion and decided then and there that I was going to become an atheist and that I had been lied to my whole life about God, about Joseph Smith, who is according to Mormon literature, the OG prophet, the only true prophet that's ever existed. And I was atheist for a long time. I think maybe 6-7 years. Actually, hold on. No, not 6-7 years, about 3 years. And then when I went to college in America, I had a spontaneous introverted mystical experience that blew my whole belief system apart. Yeah, it was incredibly profound. And in the Hindu tradition, they would call it an experience of Brahman, cosmic unity. I essentially died into light and was terrified by the beauty of that experience. It almost was too beautiful to be for my nervous system to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then I went
After,
into all of that. Then I did lots of seeking. Yeah.
right. Would it be fair to call that a spiritual awakening?
Yes, I do think that there's oftentimes a differentiation people make between an awakening and a mystical experience,
Mm-hmm.
depending on who you talk to.
Right.
I do think that as I've become more mature in my spiritual understanding, I see awakenings as uh, less experiential. Um, However, it was a spiritual experience that woke me up,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, it opened up the veil, and I couldn't unsee what had seen after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, from my own experience, I kind of settled on the best definition is Kundalini awakening because I had such a energetic shaking and it seemed to line up. But I know that, yeah, depending on the person, but yeah, they're all interesting and, all very formative. So after that experience, were you like in bliss or did you go through the dark night of the soul from that or
Mhm.
what kind of like followed that?
Yeah, I would say that for about 3 days, I was floating and high, on life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Particularly, like I would say, 3 hours after the experience, it didn't feel like I was walking. It felt like I was
Mm-hmm.
floating.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to a frozen yogurt store with my girlfriend at the time and giving the person behind the counter $100. I only had $200 to my name. And it just felt natural. Felt like I had so much trust in life after that experience. And yeah, it was phenomenal, but it didn't stay. It wasn't stable. I would
Mm-hmm.
say then
Mm-hmm.
I became a very avid adventurer in consciousness after that.
Mm-hmm.
Experimenting with psychedelics and meditation and reading Aldous Huxley and Alan
Mm-hmm.
Watts.
Mm-hmm.
All things. It was a very beautiful, adventurous time of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean those experiences are so amazing, but it's also painful because you come down and you're like, man, I want to be connected to that, and you're like, how can I get back?
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was there are parts of me that often wonder what would have happened if I had just stayed in that experience. I actually
Mm.
willfully brought myself out of the experience because it was so terrifyingly beautiful and I didn't feel worthy of
Mm.
it. So I
Mm-hmm.
often think to myself, oh, what would have happened if I had just stayed there? You know?
You might have
Um,
ended up in the hospital like me.
and it ended up in the hospital. It certainly was connected to Kundalini as well. My neck,
Mm-hmm.
right prior to the experience, my neck was doing this,
Mm.
and I wasn't controlling my neck at
Mm-hmm.
all. It was
Mm-hmm.
quite overwhelming and mystical in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
I romanticized it, and I was also very scared of it.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's fair. It's definitely it's identity shaking, shattering. And so it is destabilizing. So it's definitely helpful. And that's probably partly why we're called to be psycho-spiritual coaches to help people who go through these experiences to help ground them and integrate that. And those experiences are amazing, but if you don't do the integration work, then a lot of that benefit kind of fades away.
Absolutely, yeah. Integration has now been the main point of focus for me since my Saturn return, because it's so important. And when you have
Mm-hmm.
those type of experiences, you don't even know what integration means, right?
Right.
You're just looking for the next hit. You're like,
Yeah.
where can I just get one more taste of oneness?
Right. Right. Yeah. I love what Ram Dass says that like, once you get high, you want to go back to that experience and then you get high and then you come down and you get high and come down. And then eventually you're like, well, how do I stay high? And so doing the actual work and embodying it. So,
That's the key, and I think that a lot of practitioners have to learn that the hard way, because yeah, you don't really know what integration means until you have no other choice but to integrate.
Right.
That's been my path, 110%.
Yeah. So how did you go from there? How did you get to become a coach and become part of the spiritual community?
Yeah, so I would say when I got my master's in philosophy, cosmology, and consciousness, I was in Kauai at the time, and a lot of my friends were spiritual coaches and guides and leaders and entrepreneurs. I just thought to myself, I think I can do this. And at the time, my writing on Instagram had gone slightly viral, and just put on my story, hey, I'm opening up a coaching position. One person put up their hand, and in that first call, I noticed that it was something that I was meant to do. He was crying on the call, I was crying on the call. And from there, I've coached over 150 entrepreneurs and close to 200 people as a whole in my own practice. Both that's combining one-on-one and group facilitation. So it's been remarkable. I'm very grateful for it, but I've also been humbled a lot, So
yeah. Do you want to kind of get into your story of what caused the humbleness?
Yeah. So and this is this is all part of the integration process as well, which is very important. So if you're listening to this and you're approaching the integration process or don't quite know what integration is, you must listen very carefully to my story, because God will force you to integrate if you don't consciously try to integrate. So I would say that when I was a coach, I had compartmentalized two aspects of myself. One aspect was loving, being, very soulful, very kind, very in love with my partner at the time, very in love with serving with integrity, and I was doing all of those things. But on the other side, I was also suffering with addiction to a substance called kratom, and I had also been unfaithful to my partner, and I kept both of those things very hidden, because I was so ashamed of them, and hidden from my therapist as well, right? And then one day, my partner found out that I had been unfaithful. Quite a lot of people knew about the kratom issue. That wasn't like news to a lot of people, but it was very shocking for my community to know that I had been unfaithful to my partner, even though I didn't have, physical sex with women. I had been, virtually unfaithful and emotionally unfaithful. And when she found out, I collapsed in shame. I was living in Colorado at the time. I tried to take my life. And when my nervous system, it literally felt like my nervous system had been taken over after she had confronted me. And I have never experienced anything like that. Even now when I'm talking about it, it's the first time I'm really understanding how severe it was, because it didn't feel like I had a choice. My nervous system felt almost like overridden by this compulsion to just finish itself. I got in my car and drove to downtown Denver, and I had two different ideas in my mind of how I wanted to do it. And I sent some goodbye messages to people. And fortunately, one message from my roommate at the time said, the police are looking for you. And when I read that message, I called my brother and my dad, and they picked me up on the side of the streets, weeping in tears. And from there, I went into a hospital because of, they essentially ask you questions to see how much of a risk factor you are to yourself. Mm-hmm. And they put me on involuntary hold in a hospital in Utah for 3 days, and that was absolute hell. It was like being in purgatory, right? It felt like my shadow had manifested this reality in front of me that was hell. Right? Kind of like Dante's Inferno. That's what it felt like. Like you're in hell now because of your actions, right? And once I got out of the hospital, I lost basically 90% of my friends. Most of them didn't want to have a conversation with me. My roommates didn't want me back in the house, and I felt lonely. I felt scared. And what was particularly shocking was the fact that I knew what my essence was, and I thought that my friends would really trust what I'd given to them and the essence they had seen, but they didn't. And then I decided to come back home to Zimbabwe. When I came back home to Zimbabwe after that, I went through a process of deep redemption. So I then started to really connect with Christ in a way that was far more aligned with my current beliefs. I created an album, and the integration process started to occur only once I started to be really honest about the things I was most afraid of in myself. And that's, I think, so important when you're thinking about integration. The conversation is very much connected to honesty. Like, can you be honest to yourself and to others about the parts of you that you're ashamed of? Can you own that? And then once you can own that and really take ownership of those things and be brutally, brutally honest with yourself, life starts to open up in phenomenal ways, which is what happened to me in Zimbabwe, right? So I created an album, my videos went viral, my voice was stronger, my discernment was stronger, but it took time, right? For the first 2 months, I was basically just lying in bed depressed. So I hope that's a good enough summary for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for telling me, and the listeners. That's very deep, personal, and just, being vulnerable and letting us know. And I think it can be very inspiring for others. And it reminds me of that I think Carl Jung quote, like, no tree can reach heaven without its roots reaching to hell.
Absolutely.
And I've also been through that journey to some degree. I don't know about you, but I grew up with a lot of internal shame, and that belief stuck with me. And I think if we don't really deal with it, then eventually we're going to like live it out. And
yes.
I kind of had my own fears, my own shame, like seemingly confirmed of, not being responsible with my teacher and handling responsibilities. And so kind of that collapse of my identity as a life coach and having it together and doing what I was supposed to do. And, being kicked out and being kind of desperate and in need, and, needing to pay back money and stuff like that. And, like you said, it's very, very shocking to the nervous system. And it's like you go back into that like little boy, that felt that shame and just like didn't know how to process or talk or defend. And you're just like, it's very scary.
It can be a very scary experience. It actually feels like you're in Gethsemane begging for mercy. Right, there's that scene, and this is why I really connected with Christ's story, because obviously his is of a different quality and a different like storyline. But in Gethsemane, Jesus was begging God for mercy, right? Like essentially asking God, can it be different? Can my fate just be a little bit different? Can you just change or alter the course a little bit? Because he knew at that point in Gethsemane that there was no turning back. And that's how I felt in the hospital, right? There's no there's nothing I can do now.
Mm-hmm. There's no more escape.
No more. I cannot excuse myself. I can't justify myself. What's going to happen is going to happen.
Right.
And
Yeah.
when that reckons on you, it's scary. It's confronting, and you get a taste of God's justice and God's, and this is why the Christian God, I think, specifically can resonate with people if they've gone through these particular experiences, because there's the quality of reckoning to the Christian understanding of God, right? This very confrontational, yes, loving, yes, kind, yes, all embracing, but also no bullshit, right?
Right.
No
Right.
bullshit. And then another thing you said that I wanted to pick up on is you said it quite well. If you don't integrate the shadow, don't integrate these unconscious parts, you live it out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there's a great author who's written a lot about the shadow. His name's James Hollis. And then in his books, he often talks about that like, if you don't integrate the shadow, if you don't meet it, confront it, it will dictate your life. And as Carl Jung said, you'll call it fate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's why integration is important, specifically with the shadow, because if you don't integrate the shadow, it will erupt. It will erupt. And then when it erupts, you have to integrate after the eruption.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Ideally, you want to integrate before it erupts.
So, yeah. Right.
Right. So there's two ways to go about it. Either you can integrate the shadow before it erupts, or you can integrate the shadow after shit has gone down.
Yeah, you want to learn the easy way or the hard way.
Exactly. So you have two choices. Either if you're listening to this and your shadow hasn't exploded, trust me, it will. If you don't integrate it, face it, be honest with yourself. Or it will explode. You will face loss and suffering and pain and brutality, and then many, many months down the line, start to breathe again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah, and I mean, and life repeats. So even things can blow up, and you have two choices. You can either take responsibility and be like, "I did this. I own it," and try to atone and make amends, or you can run away again. But again, it's gonna repeat itself. And so
yes,
both of us chose to face it, to take responsibility, to try to make atonement. And a part of that is we can do our part, but we can't control other people and how they respond. And that can be very painful, because like you said, a lot of your community didn't understand or accept that, and that's very painful as well.
Yeah There's, again, back to this theme of like being out of control. When your shadow explodes, you're not in control of how people are going to respond, and you can come closer to God through that, or you can be angry at God through that. And you also start to see who your real friends are, because if you don't have friends who are willing to bring a sense of curiosity and compassion and love after you've made a mistake, then they are not your friends. And if anything, life has showed you that, right? So the most you can do is take responsibility where necessary, try your best to take accountability, and let the chips fall where they may. Some people will stay, other people will leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a friend who left, but a lot of times it's people who they haven't faced their own shadow, and so
exactly.
what they're feeling is reflective in their own life, and they feel their own shadow, and they're like, "Ooh, I don't like that," so they push you aside. So a lot of times it's not even really about you, and so you really enter a new level of authenticity, both within yourself and then with your relationships around you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's been the biggest lesson for me, is now I'm at this point where I'm starting to really find my strength again, really find my purpose again. Thank God for that. And really cherish the relationships I now have. Yeah, it's a new chapter. Because in the past, and this is another thing you'll start to see, is like in my previous community, I always had a sense that we didn't have each other's backs. And I always said that. But when this all happened, it really confirmed that for me. Mm-hmm. And so my intuition actually knew what I was in was not actually aligned for me. And yes, I became the villain in a lot of people's stories, but God also got me the hell out of there, because I was actually a part of a community that was filled with fake light workers. People claiming to be loving and compassionate, but when shit really went down, gone like a ghost. And then I came back to Zimbabwe and I started to see really what I was a part of, because the people of Zimbabwe are very connected to the land, very connected to the Ubuntu philosophy, very connected to their roots, very communal. And when I shared my story publicly, by the way, the ways that Zimbabweans received me was absolutely phenomenal, right? Like night and day, like absolute night and day. And that's when I realized that, I was in a community that was built on sand, not on stone. And
do you? I know what Ubuntu, but you want to describe that for the listeners?
Yeah, so Ubuntu is a philosophy in Africa, and the philosophy is quite simple, but it's radical in its simplicity. It's essentially the philosophy of one for all and all for one, right? Any member in a community does not get exiled, does not get abandoned. Right? There's usually a picture of the Ubuntu philosophy with hands holding like this, right? And that philosophy kind of extends into some African cultures. And it's this idea that you don't leave anyone behind, right? Especially if they've taken accountability, especially if they're trying to repair, you don't leave them behind, right? And in America, especially in those type of conscious communities, they don't know what that means, right? You have to understand it in your body, in your heart, in your soul, right? And in Africa, they grok that in a far more powerful way. So,
yeah, it's beautiful. But what do you think that is? What do you think? Why is there that difference?
That's a really good question. I think America itself, even a lot of the spirituality that is formed in America, it's not rooted. It's not of the earth. It's a conglomeration of many different New Age philosophies. People have had authentic awakenings. There's no doubt about it. But the cultural consciousness of America is very self-centered. It's very selfish. And it's not really connected to true ancestral rootedness, right? And so in Africa, and Africa is obviously like a very old continent. America is very new kind of country. You know, specifically in Zimbabwe, I mean, we have gone through a lot, right? And that's not to say that America hasn't gone through a lot, but there is a closer connection to the ancestral roots and the land itself, the archetypal texture of the land, and the real tribal understanding of community. In America, there's basically just pretend communities right? Everyone's just getting together and doing cacao ceremonies, going back and building their coaching businesses and launching a new brand.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
People here are trying to survive. People here are trying to live. People here are carrying babies on their backs while trying to sell mealie meal for $3 a day. Right? It's just a completely different world. And along with that world, there's a different type of appreciation for community and what it means to show up for each other.
Mm-hmm. It's like you have to survive. So something you really value, and then you realize the value of.
Exactly.
And yeah, when you say ancestral roots, you told me this is like accurate. That what that feels like to me is just like we honor our ancestors and the sacrifices they made for us, and in their community and their communal, and that we're all connected and we're interconnected and we need each other. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say that's very accurate. And another thing here, and it's not like the fault of a lot of Americans, but the land in Africa has a particular archetypal texture, as I said, right? There's the more self-actualized you are, and the more sensitive you are to what a specific place is holding. And having been born and raised in Zimbabwe, I feel this in my bones.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was in this other community in America, I didn't feel that. I didn't feel that at all. People were nice and kind. There wasn't like I've got you no matter what energy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
and, spirituality will talk about this. And again, like you said, you have to really feel that within your body. But the land, it ties us to what's healthy. We're meant to be tied to the earth and its natural seasons and, aliveness, really. And like everything in nature is connected, and there's that whole ecology, and that we're all works together. And then it's like, as humans, we're a part of that. And so again, that reinforces that interconnectivity, and community and just like groundedness. It keeps us from floating away and forgetting our bodies and what's important in that respect. And with technology and just like being inside all the time, and the American dream and hustle culture, all that, I think there's so many things that pull us away, disconnection from ourselves, from each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd say the main difference between places like Zimbabwe and Americans aren't connected to the archetypal texture because most of the society is built on artificial means. Whereas the community here is built on the land's philosophy. You feel the difference? There's the philosophy of the land and the roots, which people inhabit. And then there's a co-created cultural philosophy in America that doesn't come from the land. Do you feel that? The one comes from the land, the other one is human created. Right. And they can have the like feeling of selfishness and self-centeredness and
Well, America was kind of founded on like, we are here to claim or take this land or possess it, and then reap whatever we can get from it, instead of tribes and like the natives. It's like none of us own this. We're all a part of it, and we honor it, and we're here to keep the balance instead of just reap what we can from it.
Exactly. Right. And so, I don't know too much about American history, but that would make sense. Right. And I'm not, again, I don't want to romanticize Africa in ways that are unrealistic. However, I'm speaking to the essence, right? Speaking to the essence of the African soul. And I'm far more connected to the essence of the African soul than I am with the American soul. I don't even know what that means, to be honest.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
When I think of American soul, the only people that come to mind are like Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, how many people do you see really embodying that in America now? We've all become technological junkies. Um, it's sad, man. It's sad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're starting to realize, a lot of us, the problems, and so it's a slow reset and in turn. And how can we do that? How can we, like Jesus said, be in the world but not of it? We still have to work with what we have here, but
yeah.
places like Africa, and like I've been there, and that really reminds you of what's most important, what's essential, and how to live that. And so, one thing that I've thought about too is I find myself between a rock and a hard place as well, because I grew up with a certain Christianity, and there's a lot of great things about it, but there's also some issues. But then the spiritual community is not necessarily grounded, and I've learned that community, ritual, it's important and it's healthy, but how do I get that without feeling like I'm sacrificing a part of myself and this exploration of spirituality and talking about different things? And I guess my podcast is a part of where I feel free to do that. But I just wonder, like, what's the way forward?
Yeah, totally. Well, here's what I'll say. If you think you're in a community, ask yourself this question: is there a process for helping an individual in that community unshame themselves after they have caused harm, and after they've taken accountability, and after they've admitted they want to change? If there's not, you're not a part of a community.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so in Africa, there's a tribe here I think it's called the Bemba tribe. Right? When someone has caused harm in that community, everyone in the village essentially everyone goes to the center of the village. They place that individual in the center. They circle around that individual and praise them until their shame goes away. Mm-hmm. Compare that to cancel culture in America. They're two completely different realities. People in America think cancel culture is great. Yes, X them out, cancel them, screw them. Then you're working with an actual tribe connected to the land of Africa, who places an individual in the center and praises them until their shame goes away. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing that I'm trying to say. It's like, if you think you're in a community, but there is no systematic process, no ritual for helping humans like that, you're not in a community. It's fake. Those people will ghost you. And I'm overgeneralizing a little bit, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's like a community must have principles. Mm-hmm. If you're just with friends hanging out, but there's no principles, then it's not a community. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
That's beautiful. I think that's a great benchmark. Are they they embodied and they actually practicing it? And is a community about community, or just like when everything's all hunky dory, but when the shadow comes up, what do they do? So that tells you how real they are.
That's the litmus test. How does a community face the eruption of a shadow in an individual? That will tell you everything you need to know about community. Yeah. I have a cross on my face right now.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, the sun's going down and the window sill is showing. So yeah, that's funny. Speaking of, I like to ask this question, and from your upbringing and everything you've gone through and what you've studied, I'm curious if you have what would you say the meaning of the cross is?
That's a deep question. Let me just come back into sight while I.
There you go. Yes, perfect.
I think the cross is a symbol of surrender. Like real, complete surrender to God, right? Because Jesus had no other choice but to surrender on that cross, right? And so a lot of people think of it as a tool for whatever, torture or whatever. But on a like deeply symbolic level, the cross symbolizes that which we surrender to completely and wholly when we're ready, right? So not my will, but thine, O Lord, right? That's what I see the cross as. So it's also a symbol of impersonal will of God. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I think I have no problem with that interpretation. I think like that's great. I think we can all safely put our our beliefs in that as much as that, at least.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was a good question, man. Yeah. But I'm sure there's many different interpretations.
Oh yeah, there's many, and I think part of it is it's so profound. There's a mystery to it, and I don't know if anyone totally understands it, and that's probably part of the beauty and the power of it.
Absolutely, yeah. Sometimes those symbols are mysteries. We can only understand them when we live out their archetypal like energy.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it becomes how do you articulate it?
Right.
Like even when I came back to Zimbabwe and I started to connect to Christ, and I had gone through betrayal, self-betrayal, friends betraying me, exile, abandonment, redemption, hearing the story of Jesus in Gethsemane, hearing how he was tempted by Satan, aka the shadow, after his great spiritual awakening. All of a sudden, those stories started to face me and reflect in my own life. I'm like, how do I articulate that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when your psychic life literally mirrors archetypal motifs, mythologies that are supposedly fiction, and now turn into like fact.
Mm-hmm.
But even the word fact, like that doesn't capture it either, right? Because we usually think of facts as things that can be measured.
Physical,
it's like, this is an immeasurable fact.
I love that. Yeah. So where do you find yourself now? Like, what do you think about, like, there's a lot of videos of people who are like, I was New Age and I there was demonic and evil, and I came out of that, and now I'm saved and now I'm Christian.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the phenomena itself is valid. I mean, it's happening, right? Thousands and thousands of people are turning to Christ. However, I think it's very important to remember that it's also culturally skewed, right? So, would someone who's in the New Age in India go to Christianity or Christ, or would they go toward a more authentic version of Bhakti Yoga, right? So it's like, I think it's valid, and the phenomena itself is happening for valid reasons. But the reason why people are turning toward Christ is because it's predominantly Western oriented. But that's not saying that it's a bad thing. It's just something worth mentioning, right? And then what they're starting to see, in my view, is that I don't even know. I want to be careful because I don't know the full meaning or definition of New Age, but the community that I was a part of in like Hawaii, I would say felt ephemeral, right? So I often associate New Ageism with like something that's ephemeral. It's a conglomeration of different esoteric practices that allow you to manifest and become more powerful and create your dream life and heal. But there isn't really a solid foundation, right? So when you say the word God, for example, in New Age circles, you can almost sense people don't really know what that means. They're just saying it. Right? But I think for a lot of people who are turning toward Christ right now, they're starting to realize that the word God has far more powerful qualities and far more stability. And then Christ represents that stability, right? So there was another point I wanted to mention. Yeah, and then there's tried and tested principles to the Christian faith that are just not tried and tested in New Age philosophies. Like, for example, redemption. I don't ever hear people speak about redemption in New Age communities. Forgiveness, giving to the poor. If you go to spiritual communities in America, people are having psychedelic orgies. They're not giving money to the poor people. Everyone's obsessed. It's like a spiritual self-obsession that I think people have become really tired of. So they turn toward Christ because there's talk of charity, there's talk of humility, there's talk of the saints who suffered for Christ, there's talk of redemption, there's talk of building your house on a rock and not on sand. Right? There's like the best, like the vocal, how I want to vocalize it is oomph. There's a more oomphness, right? And I think people were looking for that. Whereas in New Age communities, people are just floating, man. Like, yeah, floating. But the mistake is as well that, like, if you turn toward Christ, or if you have that experience of redemption, it doesn't mean you should now become a fundamentalist Christian. Right? And that's where spiritual intelligence comes into play. Is like, what does it mean to be a follower of Christ without becoming a fundamentalist American Christian? Yeah, so I think some people are still trying to figure that out.
Yeah. And I mentioned like videos of people from New Age to Christianity. I've also seen opposite videos. I've seen people come out of Christianity into spirituality, and they're like, "This is really amazing for me." To me, it's a phenomenon of, people were seeing the limits and problems within their current belief system, and then they found deeper truth and deeper connection and wisdom in another tradition. And I think that it's not that whatever current tradition they're in doesn't have that necessarily. It's just that they were harmed by so much of the problems that they needed a new system to kind of see it. And I think over time in maturity, a lot of people kind of come back to the middle and see the problems and the beauty within each tradition. And that's kind of how, like, where I find myself. And one thing that, I definitely think that New Age can get really into the spiritual realm, and I think there is danger with demonic entities and things like that. So again, I don't think that those experiences are wrong, but I also think that people sometimes they're putting all their shadow on demon and New Age instead of being like, that was a part of me and that's a part of my patterns, and so they're not necessarily taking accountability for their own patterns, and they think that just, if I just join Christianity, then it all goes away.
Right. Yeah, there's so many different nuances to this, and that's what makes it really interesting. Which is why I just released a gospel song on my Instagram, and I'm releasing an album that's very much connected to Christ, and have often spoken about Christ. And I think a lot of people immediately assume, oh, now he's a Christian. It's like, but do you know what does it mean to be a Christian?
Right.
Do you know what that means? Yeah, I still don't know what it means. I'm still trying to figure that out. But if you think being a Christian just means like, okay, now I read the Bible, I go to church, and I believe Jesus, died for our sins, it's like, that's all just kind of like beliefs.
Right. It's putting on another service identity.
Right, right. So when I say that I'm now connected to Christ, what I'm saying is that the life of Christ has come inside of me. Right? It's like it's alive inside of me. And that's what I think it means to be a Christian, is when the archetype of Christ comes alive inside of your psyche.
Yeah.
Not oh, I'm a Christian, I go to church and I read the Bible now. You know? So
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful.
yeah, we've talked a lot. We've talked a lot about some cool things, man. It's been
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you really want to talk about?
Not really. I feel like we spoke to some really beautiful pieces here. We talked about redemption. We talked about New Age Christianity. We talked about my story, some aspects of awakening. Yeah, I feel super happy, man.
Awesome. Yeah, this has been really amazing. I love the conversation. Thank you so much, Preston. I think what would be really cool is to have one of your songs played at the end, so people can feel that passion and also the integration and feel that it's real, and I can feel that in your music. So I'd love to give the listeners a little taste.
Awesome, man. Would love to share. I'll definitely do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kendall. Hope you have a beautiful day, brother. When the sun shines, when the rain comes pouring down, always remember, you have a caring and loving God. Jesu akafira ini pamuchinjikwa nerudo ropa rake rakandikeza ndave muchene nasi rufu rwakakundwa rima rapera amuka Jesu amuka mambo wangu anorarama amuka Jesu amuka rumbidza izita rake Musamutage kumakuba hako. He conquered death and it. Oh, Jesu mupenyu, iye mupenyu mandiri. Uyai muone mawanga, ufu wakakundwa. Amuka Jesu amuka mambo wangu anorarama amuka
Amuka Jesu